Welcome back. Welcome back. Let's just get right into it. Okay. So, last time we chatted, Professor Breyer was talking about the Libyans and how the Libyans were in charge of ancient Egypt at this point in time. And he also mentioned that that wasn't the first time the Libyans were in Egypt, that one of the previous pharaohs actually went to war against Libya and won. And as a result, he brought back a lot of Libyans as slaves, even branded them. Eventually, the Libyans became like a police force, was the term he used. And that reminded me of just how dirty and underhanded and sneaky the United States government is. Yes, I'm calling out the government. What people fail to realize is that when these excavators, when these prejudiced white people calling themselves scientists went to Africa and uncovered all this knowledge, they used that knowledge against black people in America. For instance, Professor says that this pharaoh went to go fight the Libyans, brought them back as slaves. Eventually, after some time, they became farmers and others became police, as well as working for the army. A lot of them became soldiers. Well, if you remember, I could be wrong. That's why we have these discussions, to piggyback off of each other's knowledge, to grow smarter, to grow stronger as a community. But if you remember, to the best of my knowledge, when the Irish came over here to America and the American government was helping them to settle in, did not the American government set the Irish up to be the police force? Is that why, I don't know, Amazing Grace is always played on bagpipes? Which technically, if I remember correctly, is actually Scottish, not Irish. And I'm just going to put it out there. Scottish people weren't the only ones who wore kilts. At some point in time, so did ancient Egyptian men. They wore kilts. For all I know, they might have even started the trend of wearing kilts. So I'm just saying. I'm just putting it out there. A lot of stuff, more than what people realize, came from ancient Egypt and was appropriated by the American government and fed to the American people as if they came up with it. No, silly white people. They didn't come up with it. They stole it from Egypt, just like they stole that gigantic obelisk that stands in Washington, D.C. You thought some white contractor made that? No, they stole it. They got a group of men, some machinery. They unearthed it, got it up off the ground on its side, put it on a boat, and dragged that mug over here to the United States. So technically, when you're praising the government and you're going to see that big obelisk, and you're like, oh, wow, that's the most beautiful thing I ever seen. Ancient black people created that obelisk, but thank you for saying how beautiful it is. We appreciate it. And now, let's go on with the show.
What does he do? All right. Well, he knows Egyptian history. He's integrated. He's really Egyptian. He may be a Libyan, ethnically, but he's Egyptian. And by the way, the Libyans were shown on Egyptian walls, temple walls, as quite distinct from Egyptians. They're more fair-skinned, and they often wear a distinguishing feather in their hair. It's kind of sign of a Libyan. If you look at a temple wall and you see feather, Libyan. And sometimes they're shown with blue eyes. Interesting. But anyway, what does this Libyan who really is integrated?
Okay. He ain't gonna just keep going like he didn't just say that. Did y'all hear what he just said? I wonder, can I rewind that? Can I rewind that? Not too much.
So our man Shishak is probably the descendant of these Libyans that Ramses brought back as captives, branded. And now he's king of Egypt. It's a success story. It's blue eyes. Interesting. But anyway, he knows Egyptian history. He's integrated. He's really Egyptian. He may be a Libyan, ethnically, but he's Egyptian. And by the way, the Libyans were shown on Egyptian walls, temple walls, as quite distinct from Egyptians. They're more fair-skinned, and they often wear a distinguishing feather in their hair. It's kind of sign of a Libyan. If you look at a temple wall and you see feather, Libyan. And sometimes they're shown with blue eyes.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure that I heard what I thought I heard. He said that the Libyans were depicted having blue eyes. I'm confused because at this point, I don't know what to think. Again, my knowledge of Libya was that it was full of Africans. And when I say Africans, I don't mean Europeans that took over Africa. I mean the dark-skinned Africans, the native Africans. So how is a native African running around with blue eyes? Why would the Egyptians depict Libyans with blue eyes? I could understand later on in life, in modern Egypt, but this is ancient Egyptian times. Now I'm quite aware that Egyptians, not just Egyptians, but Africans got around, we traveled the globe, but blue eyes, that's crazy. I don't have an explanation for that. Tell me what you think in the comments. Is it hereditary? Is it some kind of defect? Or did some Greeks or other Europeans slide on in and just, I don't know. I don't know what to say. Well, let's find out what happened.
Interesting. But anyway, what does this Libyan who really is integrated into Egyptian society do? Now, he knows the history. He thinks back. Remember the time of Sneferu? Sneferu was the great pyramid builder, and he's the one who wanted to keep all the power in his family. Keep it consolidated. So Sneferu, if you'll remember, appointed his son as vizier of Egypt. Other sons are architects of the pyramid, overseer of the works. Sheshak does the same thing. He takes his sons and places them strategically throughout Egypt. Let me tell you about one son, Euput. 3 titles this kid has. Euput is governor of Upper Egypt. Now what that means is he's really the vizier of southern Egypt. Now that's important for several reasons. But one is, remember, in Egypt, communications is not easy. If you wanted to get a message from, say, the Delta to Thebes and back, you're talking 3 weeks. right? Could take 3 weeks for a ship to come and go. So you needed somebody down there to watch over things. His son is the governor, right? But that's not his only title. He's also high priest of Amun. Now remember, the temples of Amun at Thebes have vast resources. They are wealthy. They have land, all the produce from the land. So he is also covering his religious and economic base with his son, Euput. But that's not all. Euput is also commander-in-chief of the army. So this one son is covering 3 bases. We've got religion with the high priest of Amun, and economics also. Right? We've got politics, he's vizier, and we got the military. He's the commander-in-chief of the army. He's got it all covered with one son. But that's not his only son. He's got another son, great name, Jed Ta F Ankh, right? Jed Ta F Ankh. The name means something, of course. Jed, if you'll remember from the amulet lecture, when we talked about magical amulets and magic, there was a little Jed pillar, an amulet in the shape of the backbone of Osiris. That's the Jed pillar. Jed meant stability, because your backbone is what makes you stable, keeps you upright. So Jed means stable, right? Ptah, Jed Ptah.
Ha! Yeah, I'm calling them out. I'm calling out them old country people. Them white country people. Yep. Every last one of them named Jed, Jep, Jethro. Guess what? Somebody in your family got that from ancient Egypt. Somebody was speaking on the name. And because Europeans are bad with ethnic names, they got it wrong. They said it wrong and it came out Jed. And somebody said, oh, Jed, that's a nice southern name. You know what? I think I named my first boy Jed. Okay, all right, whatever. But again, y'all hating on black people, but you owe us everything. Let's continue. I'm just saying.
Ptah is stable. F Ankh, causing life, right? Or his life. Something like the stability of life is Ta, or something like that. So his name is nice, dedicated to Ta, and he is indeed a religious person. He's third prophet of Amun. So in other words, he has a religious title also. Now, prophet does not mean that he predicts things. That becomes the meaning in the Bible when you get these guys saying things that come true. Prophet simply means he's the third order of priest. Very, very high, by the way. You got the high priest, you got the first, third prophet. He's in there. So another son, covering things. And then there's a third son, Nimlot, a military kid. Nimlot is put in charge, commander at Heracleopolis. Heracleopolis is a city in Middle Egypt. It's in the middle. Strategic. Somebody's going to give you trouble coming from the south. You've got the commander of the army there. So these 3 sons have Egypt pretty well covered. Shishak is riding high. He is stable, feeling good. Now, what does he do? Launches military campaigns. He was chief of the Meshwesh. He's a military man. That's what he knows how to do best. And he sees the right time for a foreign campaign. In 930 BC, Solomon dies, right? King Solomon dies. And he sees that Palestine, the area of Palestine, is ripe for pickings. Palestine is now really 2 kingdoms, Israel and Judah. And one of the kings is dead. Shishak marches north. Now, he is the Shishak of the Bible, right? We know of him from the Bible. He is Shishak. And the Bible tells us about what happened. Now, roughly, we can reconstruct what happens. He goes to Jerusalem, surrounds the city. He's going to take it. He's got his military, right? Palestine is in disarray. And he's bought Israel and Judah. And one of the kings is dead. Shishak marches north. Now, he is the Shishak of the Bible. Now, roughly, we can reconstruct what happens. He goes to Jerusalem, surrounds the city. He's going to take it. He's got his military, right? Palestine is in disarray. And he's bought off. They give him the treasures of Jerusalem. And listen to what the Bible says. This is Kings 1. right? First Kings. It says, in the 5th year of Rehoboam, Shishak, the king of Egypt, marched on Jerusalem. He took all the treasures from the temple of Yahweh and the treasures from the royal palace. He took everything, including all the golden shields that Solomon had made. In place of them, including all the golden shields that Solomon had made. In place of them, King Rehoboam had bronze shields made, entrusting them to the care of the officers of the guard.
Sorry about that, having a little technical difficulties. But we will pick up. Well, hopefully I'll have this fixed by the time the next episode is uploaded. But thanks for coming out, and I will talk to you later.